Let me say something that took me a long time to understand. If your job is giving you anxiety, it does not always look like stress. Sometimes it looks like being alert all the time. Sometimes it looks like checking messages even when nothing is wrong. Sometimes it looks like your body preparing for danger, even on perfectly normal days. For a long time, I thought this was just part of the professional life pressure, expectations, high standards. Over time, I realized something uncomfortable. I was not anxious because of the work itself. I was anxious because of the environment I was operating in. And this video is not about blaming a company, a manager, or a system. It's about something far quieter and far more dangerous. It's about how living under fear for a long time changes you. So slowly, you don't even notice it happening. If you have ever felt tired even on calm days or alert even when nothing is urgent, this might help you put words to something you have been feeling but never quite understand. Hey, I am Satya. Over the last few videos, I have been reflecting more not on careers but on what they quietly changes inside us. And today, I want to talk about how prolonged uncertainty quietly creates anxiety long before we understand what it's doing to us. The body knows before the mind does. This is the part nobody warns you about. Anxiety does not always arrive as panic. Sometimes it arrives as preparation. There was a phase where nothing was technically wrong. No shouting, no crisis, no urgent emails. But my body stayed alert all the time. I would check messages the moment I woke up. Not because I had to, because my system expected something. Notifications started deciding my mood. A name on the screen was enough to change my breathing, even on days when the work itself was completely manageable. That's when I realized something important. My mind kept saying, "You are fine, this is normal." But my body was already living in defense mode. And when your body stays in defense for too long, it starts confusing safety with silence. You stop relaxing even when you are allowed to. You stop switching off even at home. Sundays don't feel restful anymore. They feel like waiting rooms for Monday. This isn't weakness. This isn't overthinking. This is your nervous system responding to unpredictability. And the more I observed this, the more I realized this was not random anxiety. It was a pattern, which brings me to the next realization. How fear slowly becomes normal in certain environments. When fear slowly becomes normal, at some point I stopped asking, "Why am I feeling this way?" and started asking a different question. What kind of environment makes anxiety feel normal? I began noticing that fear was not an exception anymore. It was not a reaction to rare events. It was built into everyday functioning. Simple things started carrying weight. Asking for leave felt like a negotiation. Disagreeing felt risky. Silence felt safer than clarity. Not because anyone said, "Be afraid," but because fear had quietly become the fastest way to stay safe. And here is something I learned the hard way. Fear does not need to be loud to be effective. It just needs to be unpredictable. When rules change without explanation, when feedback feels personal instead of professional, when power moves emotionally instead of logically, your system stops focusing on growth. It starts focusing on survival. I also noticed something else. Fear never stays at the top, it travels. When pressure is normalized at higher levels, it quietly flows downward. Juniors absorb it first, then teams, then culture. Not because people are bad, but because fear, once forward and rewarded, gets repeated. And over time, environments like this don't just change behavior, they change what people think is acceptable. That's when I realized something unsettling. The anxiety was not just around me anymore, it was starting to shape me. The day I realized I was changing, the most unsettling realization didn't come during a bad day, it came during a normal one. Nothing went wrong, no argument, no conflict, just work as usual. But I noticed something subtle. I had started choosing silence over clarity. Not because I didn't know what to say, but because I didn't want the consequences of saying it. I stopped pushing for better decisions. I stopped correcting things I knew were off. I stopped asking questions that once felt natural. Not because I stopped caring, but because caring had started costing too much. That's when it hit me. I was not becoming better at my job. I was just becoming better at surviving. I had become quieter, less patient, less generous with my energy. And that scared me more than the anxiety. Because stress can exhaust you, but survival mode changes who you are. I realized I was protecting myself, but slowly losing the parts of me I actually respected. That's when I understood something. Staying was not making me stronger, it was just making me smaller. Leaving was not dramatic, it was not anger, it was not rebellion. It was my nervous system asking for safety and my values finally listening. Now, I want to pause here and say something important because I know not everyone listening to this has the option to leave. Responsibilities are real, families, EMIs are real, and the job market right now is not kind of predictable. So, if you are in a place where you recognize all of these but can't walk away, that does not mean you are weak and it does not mean you have failed. Sometimes staying is not submission, it's strategy. If leaving is not possible right now, then the goal is not escape. The goal should be preparation. That might mean quietly rebuilding confidence, updating skills, exploring options slowly, protecting your energy where you can, and keeping your sense of self intact. You don't need a dramatic exit, you need a direction. And most importantly, you need to remember that this phase is not the definition of your worth, it's just a chapter you are navigating. If any part of this felt familiar, I want you to hear this clearly. Anxiety does not always mean you are incapable, and it does not always mean you need to try harder. Sometimes anxiety is simply information. It's your system telling you that something around you is not aligned, even if you have learned to tolerate it. You don't have to label your workplace as toxic. You don't have to make a big decision today. And you definitely don't have to explain yourself to anyone. But you do owe yourself honesty about how you feel on calm days, not just on bad ones. Because if a place slowly teaches you to shrink, that's not growth, that's survival. And survival is not supposed to be a long-term career strategy. Whether you are able to leave, preparing to leave, or choosing to stay for now, you are not alone in this. If this video helped you put towards to something you have been carrying, you are not alone. You can like or share this video, not for algorithm, but because someone else might need it. And if conversations like this matters to you, you are welcome to subscribe and stay. I will see you in the next one.